Get lumped up tonight. Listen to Rob Rossi and Rockably on the only podcast that I'll hear that won't make me wanna rip off my ears. Oh, the Rock Show, the Rock Show, the Rock Show, the Rock Show, the Rock Show. The Rock Show, oh, I want the Rock Show. The Rock Show, 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 the Rock Show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rock Show, episode 202. I'm Rocker Mike. 202. Yeah, we're just getting past the big 200. That was a great month.
Yeah, holy moly, man. What a month.
Yeah. So I'm Rocker Mike, and we got Rob Rossi, as usual. And we're going to talk to you today about a band that you might know the music, but you might not know the band. And they're called Golden Earring. Golden Earring. What do you know about this band, Rob?
You know what? I'm going to tell you, I didn't know anything about them until you told me about them. I really had no idea. I had no idea they sang the song Twilight Zone and when the lady smiles. I had no clue.
Yeah. They those were their 80s hits, but they're known mostly in America. Twilight Zone was a big hit, but they're known mostly for Radar Love, which came out in 73.
Wow.
1973 was a great year for a lot of albums. It was a great year for rock and roll. New York Dolls, Alice Cooper. God, there's so many off the top of my head. Stones came out with Goat's Head Soup that year. And then, interestingly, it was this band called Golden Earring that were from Holland, the Netherlands. And they came out with an album called Moontan. Okay. And I think when I was thinking about it, listening to it, and preparing for this show, I think I want to include it on one of these like albums you need to hear before you die lists that we're going to come up with.
Yeah.
It's a cool album. And it's something that maybe people know the song Radar Love, because that used to be played on the radio all the time. Not so much anymore in the era of classic rock that we live in. But Radar Love was one of their biggest hits internationally and biggest hit in the United States. But these guys have like 25 albums through their whole career. And,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Not a lot is really known about them. There is a book out there. I'll give you the title of it later. But there really isn't a whole lot of information about this band, but I feel like they're one of these groups that you need to like check out. If you're into the history of rock and roll and where things led, and Holland is one of these places too that kind of gets a little lost in the cracks, where bands that are actually very good and they kind of maybe didn't have big American success. And one of the other best bands from Holland that I've ever heard is Shocking Blue. And Shocking Blue had the song Venus.
Yeah.
I'm Your Venus, like that.
That's a great song too.
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful lead singer and cool guitar riff going with that. They kind of started around the same time as Golden Earring. Golden Earring's a little bit older. But through the 60s. They
were also known as the Tornadoes?
Yeah. When they originally formed in 1961, they were called the Tornadoes. We're talking about Golden Earring. Okay. Of course, the biggest hit, like I said, is Radar Love from 1973. That reached number 13 on the United States Billboard charts. Went to number 1 in Holland, and it went top 10 also in the UK.
Wow.
And they're also known for the song Twilight Zone that came out in 1982.
Yeah.
And the song When the Lady Smiles in 1984. They had 30 top 10 singles on the Dutch charts in their whole career, and they did release 25 studio albums, like I said. So it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack there.
That's a lot.
Now the band went through a number of early lineup changes.
They had a lot of
yeah. There's a lot of lineup changes until they settled in on a stable lineup in 1970, which was consisting of Rinus Gerritsen on bass and keyboards, George Kooymans on vocals and guitar, Barry Hague on vocals, guitar, flute, and saxophone, and Cesar Zuiderwijk. Okay, I'm sorry if I'm butchering these Dutch names. Drums and percussion. And that band, that lineup remained unchanged until the band broke up in 2021, following the diagnosis of Kooymans with ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And then a number of other musicians also appeared in short stints with the band over its history as well. Now, what became Golden Earring was formed in 1961 in The Hague, okay, by 13-year-old George Kooymans and his 15-year-old neighbor, Rinus Gerritsen. Originally called the Tornadoes, the name was changed to the Golden Earrings when they discovered that the name Tornadoes was already in use by another group. If you remember, the Tornadoes was the Joe Meek band that did Telstar. Remember we did it? Yeah.
So they had to change the name, so they became the Golden
Earrings. They had an S at the end at the beginning. You know, having a little hair of the dog right now.
You got lumped up yesterday?
I drank about 12 of these yesterday. So they were called Golden Earrings, and it was taken from an instrumental called Golden Earrings performed by the British group The Hunters. It was the name of a song. And they had actually served as the opening and closing act for The Hunters a few times. Initially a pop rock band with Franz Krasenberg on lead vocals and Jaap Egermont on drums, the Golden Earrings had a hit with their debut single, Please Go, recorded in 1965. Dissatisfied with Dutch recording studios, the band's manager and co-discoverer Fred Hayen arranged for the next single to be recorded at the Pi Record Studios in London. Pi was a very big label in England at the time. They had like the Searchers and other great, British invasion bands on that. I think the Kinks had spent some time on Pi as well, I think. The record cut at Pi was called That Day, and it reached number 2 on the Dutch charts. The definite article was dropped from the name in 1967, and the plural S was dropped in 1969. So they were called the Golden Earrings. They dropped the, and then they dropped the S. So this became Golden Earring in 1969. In 68, Barry Hague joined the band, replacing Krasenberg as frontman. 2 years later, the band earned their number 1 hit in the Netherlands with the song Dong Dong Diki Diki Dong.
What a song title.
Dong Dong Diki Diki Dong.
Um,
In the United States, groundwork for entering the U.S. market was being laid by East Coast FM radio disc jockey and music critic Neil Kempfer-Stocker, who was credited as the first DJ to play the band in the United States. This was a time when FM radio was experimental, okay, and they were playing deep cuts by artists or new music. Really, it was a great time for radio. You had your AM, which was playing all the hits, and then FM was playing, album sides and deep cuts and bands that have songs like Dong Dong Diki Diki Dong. Okay.
What a song for a title.
Now, this single, Dong Dong Diki Diki Dong, was followed by a successful psychedelic album called 8 Miles High, which featured a 19-minute version of the title track. That's the Byrds song, the 1966 song by the Byrds.
Wow.
Yeah. Now they turned a 3.5 minute song into a 19-minute song. The Byrds would actually do that too when they performed it. And I've always kind of in those later years, like after Crosby was out of the band, and there is a live version of 8 Miles High. It might have been recorded at the Fillmore on Second Avenue. I don't remember.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. I'm talking about the Byrds doing, and I always thought it was a response maybe to what Golden Earring had done. Like
so they did their own version of 19
minutes. Song, Golden Earring turned it into a 19-minute song, and then they do a long version of it.
Wow.
Very interesting. Okay. The song was played throughout their U.S. tour and became the core performance of their live shows. And their experience in the U.S. led them to make their studio albums resemble their live shows rather than the other way around. So when they recorded, they basically just recorded live. I think they didn't do a lot of overdubs and things like that. They wanted to get their live show recorded, basically.
Yeah, so that means when you go see them live, they sound the same way, and they feel like the band. It's not like something that's pretty much done already and cleaned up and polished. They just want to sound the way they sound. So when you see them live, you're like, oh, that's the way they sound. Because there's been times you see a band that sounds so good at the album, and then you go see the band, and it's like not the same as the album. Oh, they added so much other stuff that they can't redo it.
I mean, there's so many albums like that are just layered with production, and that's great. Okay, that can be great. I mean, like, Beatles' Sgt. Pepper back in '67 when that came out, you could never duplicate that live if they weren't playing live anymore. But
no,
even if they wanted to, but now you go see Paul McCartney, and he does tracks from Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah,
it's like it sounds like the fucking album.
Yeah, wow.
And which you couldn't do that 50, 60 years ago.
No.
So the Golden Earring's American Records during this period was issued by a label called Perception Records out of New York City. And the band's Golden Earring LP, known as Wall of Dolls and single Back Home, performed poorly in the U.S., but became a #1 hit in the Netherlands. Now, despite FM radio kind of picking up on them a little bit, they really didn't sell. Not yet.
Wow.
But they're huge in Holland. Okay. And, like I said, they were kind of like, they came out a little bit before Shocking Blue. But my good friend, the late Rick Rivets, went to Holland and Rick Rivets is a founding member of the New York Dolls, in case you don't know who he is. He went to Holland in I think it was 1969. He was about 19, 20 years old. He went with Arthur Kane, who would be in the New York Dolls also. And they saw Shocking Blue, and they were hanging out in Amsterdam, and there was a great music scene there at that time. And it just never translated in America much, fortunately. Now, in 1969...
Some bands are just, they either go to like them or you don't like them. So some bands came here, and you know what? People heard them, and right away, bam, let's take it. But then there's people that come in, 1 or 2 songs, then they're like, fuck this, let's get out of here.
It's also a thing of that time. You didn't have the internet, obviously, and mass media that you got now. Now, I mean, I listen to bands that for instance, there's a band. Not to get off topic, but there is a band that I'm getting very interested in. They're called Moonlight Benjamin, and they're out of France. Yeah, and they are I don't know how to describe them, like a voodoo rock and roll band. Okay. The lead singer is a Haitian woman. Okay. That's her name, Moonlight Benjamin.
Okay? Oh my God.
And she's a voodoo queen. And she was born in Haiti in Port-au-Prince. and moved to France. And she's got these white guys, rock musicians, backing her up. And she's got this fucking amazing voice. And she's singing in Creole, mostly Haitian Creole and French. And they have yet to play the United States, or they've been playing around France and Belgium the last couple of years. Part of it bringing this up is because now you could find bands if you want, in other countries.
Yeah.
But in those days, you really couldn't. And if you didn't have that international backing, someone looking to promote you, you kind of, you wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, bands like the Beatles and the Stones and even the Kinks to some degree, coming out of England, they had this massive machine behind them that was pushing them. Most bands didn't in those days. If you were lucky enough to have the album released in the States, they kind of just let it sit and see what happens. They didn't put a big effort behind it. Now it's totally different. You could be in Holland making music in your Dutch language, not even in English. Okay. And, all you need is a website and you'll get some kind of promotion here,
That's, because the internet's a powerful weapon,
Oh yeah. I mean, as much as it's evil and shit, it's actually a good thing because it brings us all closer together.
You could probably look up those bands probably on YouTube too and find them in there playing. Absolutely. And you can get a bunch of different music,
Yeah. And that Moonlight Benjamin band I mentioned, they're fucking great. And they just got this great feel. She is, she admits her influences or like Dr. John and stuff like that. I love that shit. So anyway, in '69, drummer Cesar Zuiderwijk, I'm saying it wrong, sorry, joined the band, completing what was to become Golden Earring's classic lineup. The band enjoyed brief international fame in the 1970s when the single version of Radar Love came out in '73 from the gold certified album Moontan, became a hit in both Europe and the U.S. Golden Earring embarked on their first major U.S. tour in '69-70. Okay, that time. This is before Radar Love. Owing to American influences, their music evolved toward hard rock, and they performed along. They opened for Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, Procol Harum, and Eric Clapton. Between 1969 and 1984, Golden Earring completed 13 U.S. tours. During this period, they performed as the opening act for Santana, King Crimson, the Doobie Brothers, Rush, and 38 Special.
Wow.
During '73-74, when Radar Love was a hit, okay, they had Kiss and Aerosmith as their opening acts. Think about that.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, think about that. Now, '73-74, Kiss was just starting out. Same with Aerosmith. They were just starting out too. Okay. But on the basis of that's how big Radar Love was, that they could headline. That's pretty cool. Not easy to do that in those days with very little marketing and all that. Now, Golden Earring enjoyed a brief period of U.S. stardom, but were unable to secure further chart success through the '70s. They had released singles, but they didn't really go anywhere after Radar Love until 1982. And they had a song called Twilight Zone. And the music video actually helped it. It was directed by Dick Maas, the video, and was played on the recently launched MTV in the United States and helped the song to become a U.S. hit, spending 27 weeks on the Billboard charts. That was a cool video. And if I remember right, maybe a listener can correct me if I'm wrong, I think there was like an extended version of that video. Do you remember that?
There was a what?
That ring a bell? Like you had your single version, I think 3.5, 4 minute long song.
Yeah.
And I think there was like a 10-minute version of that song. Okay. That they made like this kind of story video where like trying to remember it now. Like there's just a bunch of like crazy scenes going on with like somebody being tortured or something like that, or the guy singing "We're in the Twilight Zone," now people being shot or something. I forget. I haven't watched it in years, but if I remember right, there was like a long version of it. But anyway, then there was the track called "When the Lady Smiles," and that became an international hit in 1984. Reaching number 3 in Canada and becoming the band's 5th #1 hit in their native country of Holland.
Wow.
But wasn't very successful in the United States. It got to number 76 on the U.S. singles chart. The video was banned from MTV because of its unholy desires about a nun and a lobotomy in the video, okay? And they used Dick Maas again for the video. And that actually launched his career as a film director, Dick Maas. Okay. While touring the U.S. in 1984, this is one thing that this little tragedy here that they're known for. They were touring the U.S. in 1984, and the band played at Great Adventure in New Jersey. Okay. And it was May 11th. And in the midst of their performance, a fire broke out at the haunted castle on the opposite side of the theme park while they were on stage, and it killed actually 8 teenagers in the haunted castle.
By the way, Mike, you're right again. There was a regular 4-minute version, then there was like an 8-minute version.
Thanks for looking it up. Yeah, I remember watching it. I remember seeing it. It was like a long, drawn out story. It was like a mystery.
Yes.
What was going on?
Right.
See, I'm not totally shot. I can remember things from 40 years ago. So, following this tour in 1984, Golden Earring turned their focus toward Europe. They kind of realized that they're never going to really make it big here. Okay. And they continued to attract like standing room only crowds, and they were doing well. The group paused briefly after the release of The Hole, the album The Hole in 1986, to focus on other projects, with Hague and Kooymans both releasing solo albums. An album called Victory of Bad Taste and Solo. Kooymans' solo album was called Solo. That came out in 1987, both of them. The group then reconvened to record their final album of the 80s, releasing Keeper of the Flame in 1989. Now, in the 90s, they would begin with another hit in the Netherlands. It was a song called Going to the Run, a rock ballad type song about a Hells Angel motorcycle gang member who was a friend of the band and had died in a motorcycle crash. The Russian rock band Aria made a successful cover of the song Going to the Run between, I think it was, that would be much later in 2000s, I believe. Their song was called Careless Angel, but it was basically the same song. Between 1992 and 2004, Golden Earring released 3 acoustic live unplugged albums, which became big hits in Europe. The acoustic album featured unplugged versions of famous hits of the band and have been some of the band's best-selling albums, such as The Naked Truth, which is one of them. It was sold over 500,000 copies in the Netherlands. You think about it, not too many people live in the Netherlands. So if you sell 500,000 copies, it's like the whole fucking population.
But they also taking albums like every year almost, the way it's seen, because they got 25 albums. I couldn't even believe that. So they must be taking albums every year, probably releasing an album. It's crazy.
Yeah. And they just, they realized, well, let's put our efforts where everybody likes us. Okay, and stop trying to break into the American market because it's just not happening.
Yeah,
it's okay. Bands can make a great career, great living, and not be in the U.S. market. A lot of great bands like that. And it's up to us to find them. Unfortunately,
yeah.
But, now Golden Earring performed over 200 concerts a year, mainly in their home country of Holland, and occasionally in Belgium, Germany, and the UK. These energetic live performances have been recorded on several live albums. One was called Live, and it was recorded at the London's Rainbow Theatre in 1977. I've heard that album. It's very good. That's from their peak period, pretty much. Then there's one called Second Live, recorded in 1981. One called Something Heavy Going Down in 1984, and also released on DVD as Live from the Twilight Zone. If you find that DVD, it's from that tour. And Last Blast of the Century, a live recording of their last concert of the 20th century, available on both CD and DVD. Furthermore, the band's acoustic live albums include The Naked Truth, 1992, Naked 2 came out in 1997, and Naked 3 in 2005. Their latest live album, called Live from Ahoy, 2006, is a DVD with a bonus CD. Golden Earring celebrated their 50th anniversary in 2011, which the Dutch Postal Service honored them with a stamp.
Wow.
Okay. And the stamp that contained a music link on it. All right. When a smartphone with a special app is held up to the music stamp, Golden Earring's Radar Love plays. I'd like to have that stamp. That's kind of cool.
That's
right?
very cool.
Yeah. So on May 11th, 2012, the band released their latest studio album entitled Tits and Ass. Okay. Guaranteed not to be, sold in the fucking stores with that title. Okay. All right. The album was recorded in London during the summer of 2011 with producer Chris Kimsey and peaked at #1 in the Dutch album charts twice. The album song Still Got the Keys to My First Cadillac was issued as a single. A video for the song featured young impersonators of Golden Earring in the video. On February 5th, 2021, the band's manager announced to the Dutch press that their active career was over due to singer George Kooymans' serious illness. Yeah, okay. He was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, and he's still alive. I guess it's a terrible, sad ending to them, but they have an interesting career. The book that I mentioned earlier, let's see, what is it here?
But that's a lot of albums, man.
Yeah, there was a book called The Story of Golden Earring by Karen and Mechteld Becks. It's an authorized biography published on the band's 45th anniversary in 2005. But looks like the text is only in Dutch. Dutch. There's another one called Hague Bloof by Peter Fransen. It came out in 1993. And Rock Die Niets Roast by Professor Martin Steenmeyer. Came out in 2005. Another one in Dutch. Yeah, somebody's got to write a fucking book about this band in English.
In English.
I mean, come on. People write they have a website, goldenearring.nl.
Yeah, I saw that.
English. Radar Love Time Travel is another one. And an English language interview with George Kooymans from Music Mirror is available on the Music Mirror website. I'm gonna do a little deep dive on this band. Maybe we'll do another show on them. It's just it's interesting if we could find some more information about them.
The website's pretty good.
Yeah, I looked at it. There's a lot of info on the Golden Earring website. So that's all I got today, Rob. Short show. 30 minutes on Golden Earring. Huh?
It's a band that I never knew, which is always good to when you put this list together and you throw out these songs. I'm like, whoa, what the hell? And then you get some amazing information, and then you listen to some of the songs, and you're like, Jesus Christ, I remember this song. I remember when I heard this under. I remember once you say the video, I remember the video right away. Yeah,
it was always being played on MTV.
Yeah, MTV used to go. When MTV first started, 24 hours, there weren't that many videos.
They played anything. They played anybody who had a video. Didn't matter.
it's amazing what they do it to it now. There's no more MTV video. It's MTV. It's still called MTV, but there's no more videos on
They
that.
don't play videos. It's terrible.
Terrible.
And those early days, I would say the first like 2-3 years of MTV was
Yeah.
so groundbreaking because in the first year they had no commercials.
Yeah.
Right? And then they got commercials. Okay, could live with that. And then they started getting full of themselves, giving awards out and all that shit. But the first 2-3 years when they were just kind of like playing any video that they could, they turned a lot of people onto bands.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, there was things I'd never heard of. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And I mean, they would play. It was even punk bands they were playing that would make these little promo videos and they would play them.
Yeah, they were also making. Let me say, it was called "Hear Them First." Like you would have that show. You hear them here first. It was an MTV thing. It was rare music, and then it got taken over by 120 Minutes. I also played a bunch of rare independent shit that a lot of people didn't know, and it became very popular after a while.
They kind of they did that. Was a smart move on MTV to do 120 Minutes and even Headbangers Ball.
Yeah, the Headbangers Ball was another
that was smart because they were really losing credibility at that time as being kind of like just in the mainstream.
Yeah,
so they needed to show alternative stuff or stuff that you didn't hear on the radio. They had those two shows, and it kind of gave them a little more credibility for a few years. But really, just MTV's garbage now, man.
Yes, pure garbage. It's terrible now.
Once they started with the reality shows, that was
that's it. It was done. It was a wrap.
Yeah, I mean, and they really sold out because, what did the reality shows have to do with music? Nothing.
Yeah.
So what they originally were intended to do was to promote music. They just promoted reality shows.
Yeah, now it's like more TV. That's what MTV has become. And then they had MTV2 so people could watch. And then that turned into another thing. And to the point
they were playing videos for a while on MTV2, but now I don't even know if they do that. I think
the only time they play video, if you go on MTV Classic, they're playing video shows. So that one is still the one that hasn't changed much.
Yeah. But like I said, that period, like they started in 81, like 81, 82, 83. Great stuff. And that's when, getting back to Golden Earring, that's when they had the hit with Twilight Zone. And it was, they jumped on that. Okay. Yep. With director David Moss, who would go on to bigger things, to make this kind of like use that genre as a platform for them to promote the music. It's just very cool, at that time.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right, Rob. So where can we find you, Rob?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, X, and on the Getting Lumped Up website. And you can also find me at YouTube. And remember to subscribe, like, and give us a comment on the YouTube page anytime you look at any of these videos. And tell us how we're doing.
We will answer those comments. We like to talk to our fans.
Yeah.
And we thank you all for being there for us for 5 years now, man. It's been
5 years. Can't believe it.
Over 5 years. Fantastic.
Yeah.
If you're looking for me, I'm on Instagram and Twitter, which is now called X. I'm Rocker Mike 212. On all the others, I am Rocker Mike. And of course, on Facebook, they won't let me be Rocker Mike, so I am Rocco Mike. Rocco Mike on Facebook. I'm probably most active there if you want to find me.
Yeah.
I'm tapping out now. I got like 4,000 followers, man. I can't believe it.
Wow. And, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And I do talk to pretty much all of them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Also, you could find the Rock Show podcast group page on Facebook. We have a song of the day, a song of the night. We talk about upcoming shows. We talk about all kinds of things through rock and roll history from the beginning to now. On that.
Now, it's pretty amazing how much people put up there too.
Yeah. There's some people that post regularly. I post regularly. It's a lot of fun, and we get into a lot of good conversations on it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So if you go on, you got a bunch of places that you can reach out to us, call us, and we'll definitely get back to you. And because we got a lot of stuff going on. I was wondering, what are the next upcoming show? What we got next?
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to ask me that. I really don't have anything scheduled yet for July.
Okay.
Let me just double check. Oh, not true. Excuse me. I'm lying to you. We have this was the last show for June. So the next show coming up for July is Nico. Okay. Nico, the famous singer from the first Velvet Underground album, and then she had a fantastic solo career, German artist. We'll get into her.
Okay.
And then the Tubes. Okay.
All right.
White Punks on Dope, and She's a Beauty, and all those hits. Okay. Cool band, very interesting band. Theatrical. Okay. And they had a big cult following for a long time. The Tubes. White Punks on Dope was a cult hit. Okay. And August is what I gotta come up with something.
All right, so that sounds good. So we got a few shows coming up, people. I hope you enjoy them and watch them. And we come out every 2 weeks. You have a new rock show.
Yep. And what do we say at the end of every rock show?
Don't get drunk.
Get lumped up.
See you later.
Take care, people.
Get lumped up tonight. Listen to Rob Rossi and Rockably on the only podcast that I'll hear. That won't make me wanna rip off my